Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we have Coach Whitaker from Calhoun High out of Port Lavaca, and he will be speaking to us about what his career path took to become an athletic director, what roles he's acquired throughout the years, any accolades he has gained, what additional training he's gone through, what are some highs and what are some lows within the role, as well as how has COVID-19 impacted his daily work routine. We ask that you mute your lines and address any questions or comments in the chat box. Thank you so much, Coach Whitaker, for being with us this afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. And again, Richard Whitaker, I'm athletic director, head football coach at Calhoun High School in Port Lavaca. I've been here 15 years. This is my 32nd year in education. And, you know, athletics was a big part of my life growing up. It was something that I was, I was involved in all sports, when I was coming through junior high and high school. Went to a very small school up in East Texas, close to Nacogdoches, and had an opportunity to participate in multiple sports coming through school, along with UIL and band and FFA and other things. But athletics was always something that I was very intrigued with. I wanted to be a part of. It just gave me a sense of being a part of a team and accomplishment. And so, once I got into college, I actually went to college on a track scholarship at Northwestern State, Louisiana. I was one of those crazy pole vaulters back in the day. And so, I knew that I wanted to have athletics to be, something that was going to be a part of my life continuing after college. And so, my encouragement for you is if you choose to go into education and you want to be a coach, make sure that you're choosing a teaching field that is going to be something that is going to allow you to be able to get jobs. I get frustrated a lot of times when these colleges are sending youngsters out and their teaching field is physical education. Physical education we still teach in the high school level and middle school levels, but not as much so as we did back in the early days. We at our high school at Calhoun High School, we have around 1,100 kids. We have one male PE teacher and one female PE teacher. So, my encouragement to you is to make sure that you are getting yourself a certification in a class of a core class like English or science or math, history, something like that. That just makes yourself, it gives yourself so many more opportunities to be hired at the school level. Special education has become very important over the last several years. We have probably 10 or 12 special education positions at Calhoun High School, and many of my coaches are special ed certified. So that's something I'd strongly encourage you to do if you're looking to go into the coaching profession, is make sure you have a teaching certification in a core area outside of physical education. That's something that's very difficult for us to hire coaches now. There's just no PE jobs available. I was a history teacher. I enjoyed history. I taught history for several years until I became a head coach, athletic director. So, I taught U.S. history and world history, and very, very much so enjoyed those classes and being in the classroom with the kids. As far as the level of training required, as far as a teacher goes, you need a bachelor's degree. And I have a bachelor's degree. I do not have a mid-management. I do not have a master's. There are, to be an athletic director, there are a lot of school districts that require athletic directors to have a mid-management or a master's degree. And Calhoun County, is one of those school districts does not require that. So with a bachelor's degree, I was able to, take over the athletic director's position at Calhoun High School. As far as entry-level positions in your field, we do like to hire young coaches at our middle school positions, if we can. It don't always work out like that. We hire young coaches at the high school. I hired a young female coach last year. This was her first year of coaching. So it doesn't always work out where we hire young coaches in the middle school and work them up. Sometimes we're forced to hire young coaches at the high school level. So there are positions there sometimes at the high school especially in our girls athletic program, because girls coaches are hard to find these days. I'm telling you. So we're always searching for good females in the coaching world. But I think it's great for young coaches to come through the middle school because they get the experience of working with the seventh and eighth grade kids. And if you've never had that experience, it's certainly something I encourage all to come through. I try hard to, with especially my boys side and girls side, both boys and girls, to work those coaches through the middle school system and bring them up to the high school eventually. And that's something we're very proud of at Calhoun. I've had several coaches come through our, Travis or Seadrift Middle School that have worked for us at Calhoun High School over the years. So, again, I encourage the young coaches to look at those middle school positions. I know sometimes they're not interested in those, and they are jobs open at the high school at times that we will fill with young coaches. As far as pay, there is a state base in Texas. It's around $34,000. Obviously, most school districts around this area are going to pay above state base. And if you're going to coach, there's always going to be stipends, including also into your pay. Coaching stipends. For our head coaches, most of our head coaches are going to make somewhere around $4,500 to $5,000. Our assistant coaches at the high school are going to make around $2,500. And then middle school coaches, it may be a little less just because of the number of days that's going to be involved in the work in the program and so forth. So, you add that in, plus we also pay days at, Calhoun ISD. Some school districts may not pay days, but most do for their coaches because they're going to work extra days. So, all teachers are going to be paid on a 187-day pay scale. We pay all of our coaches 10 extra days, so they're going to get paid on a 197-day pay scale, but they do work those days, and a lot of times even more than those 10 days. So you add those 10 days in, you add your stipends in for your coaching, and then whatever the base is for that school district, a beginning coach could start out, anywhere from $45,000 to $50,000 if you're coaching a couple sports and putting the time in there. So one of the reasons I got into coaching, as I talked about, was just the love of sports. But, my whole life has been around a school calendar. I wouldn't know what to do if I was in a working environment where I had to do something different than you have a Christmas holiday, a Thanksgiving holiday, a spring break. Now, with athletics going on, we're usually busy during those times, but I still work around a school calendar. And I have, if you think about that, all through elementary school, middle school, high school, college, and now in my profession for 32 years, my whole life has been built around a school calendar. So that's something that I enjoy. I know that, especially with having kids, my wife and I had three kids that come through school, and being able to be a part of their lives and knowing that we were going to have the time off together, not only at the same time during the summertime, but we will also be able to see those kids growing up in the school system and so forth. On a day-to-day basis, your regular coaches obviously are going to be teaching class. At Calhoun High School, we're very fortunate that most all of our coaches have 2 athletic periods. So they're going to teach four classes throughout the day. They're going to have an athletic period. And so, those coaches are going to be expected, if they're not a core teacher, they may be a teacher of assistants in classes. A lot of our special ed coaches are, and they go into classes and assist with students like pull-outs and things like that, reading tests or things like that. But there are going to be daily routines that those coaches are going to have outside of the coaching world. And so that's something that's going to happen every day, whether they're teaching a core class or helping in a class. The coaching part of it, obviously, when you're in season, is very time consuming. You sit down and start putting maybe a number or a number to actually how much you're making on the hours that you spend in the coaching world. Sometimes it may not seem worth it, but the fulfillment of working with kids and the reward that you get out of, helping someone grow and seeing the achievements that they get, and you're helping them get to that level, to me outweighs the pay anyway. So, but on a day-to-day basis, obviously you're going to be teaching classes, and if you're in season, you're going to have, either before or after school work that you're going to put into it. As far as the athletic director's job goes, I've got 40 something coaches on our staff from our 2 middle schools and high school. and it's my responsibility to make sure that, our schedules are set up. Also to make sure that, when we have games, that you have officials, you have people that's working at the games. You got to have your gatekeepers, you got to have your security at the games and so forth. So these are things on a day-to-day basis that I'm doing as an athletic director to make sure that all those details are running smoothly. And if anybody has some, questions or issues or whatever it comes up, then it always comes my way. The other big part of the athletic director's job is a budget. We have a pretty good size athletic budget at Calhoun ISD, but that has to be spread across, boys and girls side of sports and through 2 middle schools and the high school. So you have to sit down and figure out how much travel is going to be involved and what kind of as far as, you got your fees when you go into tournaments and to track meets and things like that. How much are we going to spend there? And then how much money are we going to need in equipment budgets so that each program can be successful and be able to get what they need through their equipment budget. So a lot of my job, again, is budgeting. Just in other things, details is just knowing UIL rules and we ask all of our coaches. I have a UIL meeting every year at the beginning of the year with our coaches. It's something that's mandatory through the UIL. And I sit down and we go through all of our common sense UIL rules, the things that we have to go through. But we ask all of our coaches to understand the rules and regulations of athletics. But that's something that I certainly am there for. If anybody has a question, they need to come through me and make sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's and staying on top of things. Question about what do I enjoy most about the job? Again, I think just seeing kids grow. I've been doing this 32 years, and I've got kids. They're not kids anymore. They're 40-something-year-old adults that I stay in contact with, and they're still very appreciative of the time that we spent together. But watching kids grow and just achieve, they sit out. You see them come through as 7th graders and 8th graders, and they're changing, but then you start talking to them and you find out what their goals are and what they want to achieve. And before they graduate from high school, a lot of those achievements have happened. And that's just a great feeling that you're part of that and you're helping them grow. In the coaching world, we always talk about so much that we're like a second parent to the kids. In a lot of cases, we may be the only parent, but that is a great feeling. My kids and my parents know I reach out. I'm doing Zoom meetings right now twice a week with our youngsters. If they're not there, my parents know they're going to hear from me. And I call straight to the parents or our text straight to the parents. And they have no issue with picking up the phone, calling me if we need to talk about what's going on with their kids. So I'm very much involved in my kids' lives. And, I like that the part of the job that, I feel like I'm making a difference in some of them's life. As far as the COVID, how it's affected us, obviously, just like any other school district, we went on spring break somewhere around March the 11th. And, we did not come back off of spring break. We've been on a break since then from our kids. We very strongly were social distancing for a long time. I have been as athletic director, as an administrator, I do go into work each day, but I don't have, the other coaches are coming in. They're not coming in with me. So most of the time I'm in my athletic office by myself or the field house by myself. But what am I doing, on a daily basis right now is just reaching out to kids, making sure, we're still checking in equipment, making sure that our budget, everything is set up for next year, just hoping, preparing, getting ready for the next upcoming season, make sure our schedules are set and so forth. And just trying to make contact with the kids as much as we can. And like I said, we're Zooming twice a week with our athletic kids, and we're having good turnout. And so we're hoping that I know the governor is speaking this Friday, and I know the commissioner of education is going to speak next Tuesday. We're hoping to hear some good things about athletics, and maybe we'll start opening back up and getting back together maybe sometime in June. I know the state of Louisiana Athletic Commission is allowing them to come back together on June the 8th for summer workouts, and we're hoping to, that's going to happen here in Texas as well. We do know that it's going to be a different look when we do come back together. We're not going to get 100 kids together. We're going to be able to get maybe 20, 25 kids together at one time, and it's going to be a whole different ball game. So those are things that we're already starting to prepare for, that I'm sitting down and trying to work on schedules and things like that. And hopefully the state's going to allow us to do that, and we can kind of start implementing that. But again, coaching is it's a blessing. It's like I said, my wife is also a coach. Her mom and dad were coaches. My daughter is a coach. I can't think of a better profession. And, it's such a rewarding profession because of what you're doing for kids. You're making a difference and changing lives on a daily basis. And there are sometimes there are headaches that come along with it. There's, what I tell my young coaches as they come in, we have this meeting every year. We're in possession of the most precious thing a parent has, and it's their child. And we should always treat the kids the way the parents would want to treat them themselves, or the way you'd want somebody else to treat your kids. And we have, one of the things when I'm interviewing coaches is I ask them, do they have a love for kids? Do they have a passion for kids? Do they have a passion to help kids? Because those are the kind of people we're looking for at Calhoun ISD. I had an AD call me just a couple of days ago asking me about a gentleman that used to work for me. And I'm not going to mention who or where the school was at or whatever. He was doing a reference check. And I told him, I said, Coach, I have known coaches that technically were probably better than this gentleman, but you won't find anybody that connects with kids better than this person. And that's what makes success. I mean, this coach, I know that because I know my daughter played for him. And the kids just absolutely love this coach. He was just a phenomenal motivator. The kids just they wanted to be there every day and play hard for him and do whatever this gentleman asked and everything. And that's what made him such a successful coach. And those are the kind of people we're looking for. And I think those are the folks that we're gathering here at Calhoun ISD, and it's what makes our district such a great district. I hope that answered a few questions. I was trying to go off the talking points here that I was handed, and I'll be glad to answer some questions. How often do you see a female as an athletic director? What words of encouragement would you have? I know that Corpus Christi ISD, their athletic director for several years has been Brenda Marshall. I know just a few years ago, Galveston ISD had a female as an athletic director. Our UIL director, Susan Elza, she is the head of the UIL. She is our big time boss. So I think certainly there are opportunities for females as athletic directors. Most school districts do have girls coordinators, and as Calhoun does. So I do have, I guess you would call an assistant athletic director, but it is a female coordinator. And so most schools will have that, but there are a few schools that have athletic directors that are females, and I certainly think those opportunities are there for you. Any more questions?
I'll read them out to you. If a student is diagnosed with a disability, what are the possibilities for them to become a coach? And would their impairments hold them back from anything within the role?
No, I don't think so at all. I've coached with someone that had a disability before, and I tell you, again, I think there's just, to me, it's about connecting with kids. And if you have a love and passion for kids, the kids are going to feed off of that. They're going to know that. They're going to recognize falsehoods very quickly. And this person that I work with that had a disability, I'm telling you, they had such a great passion for kids, and the kids absolutely loved them. And it just made a very successful coach because of that. So I think there's certainly opportunities.
Next question. Aside from being an active athlete, what extracurricular activities and organizations do you suggest a student be involved with during their high school years?
I encourage our kids to be involved in everything. We work very closely with our band. As I told you earlier, at one point in high school, I was the president of the band. I was president of the FFA, and I probably graduated with about 17 letters in sports. So at Calhoun High School, as athletic director, I encourage our kids to get involved in everything, because it takes all of our kids to make success in all of our programs. And I work so well with the band. We have first period athletics with our boys football team, but we also have first period band. And so a lot of our incoming freshmen, they want to be in band, so I'll let them be in band. They go to band first period. They don't come to first period football. So we work a separate schedule out with those youngsters. We bring them in a different time and do some special things for them just so they can have that opportunity. So I strongly encourage those kids to be a part of other programs.
Is there anything you could do or you would do differently if you were in high school once again? And if so, what would that be?
I don't know if there's anything I would do differently. maybe listen a little more to my coaches since I'm a coach now. But I do have a lot of, there was an article written here just not long ago by someone about me, about my personal life. And I talked about my high school coach, and I sent that to him. My high school coach and I are still very close. And I sent that article to him and got some positive feedback from him. But we were very close, and he was very demanding on me coming through high school, and I appreciate that. I mean, I think he kept me. I had great parents that was always keeping me online, keeping me moving in a straight and narrow. But I thought my high school coach also played a big role in that. And if I could go back and do anything different, I would probably listen a little bit closer to some of the things that he suggested to me.
Okay, the next one says, you mentioned that you teach history. What other subjects could one teach while they are coaching?
Well, any subject that's a core subject like English, math, science, Spanish. We have Spanish teachers that coach, that are coaches. A lot of our, of course, history we already talked about, but we have coaches also that teach business and other things outside of the core classes as well. My wife is a science teacher. She teaches physics and forensic science. She also teaches a college science class. I have coaches on my staff that are English teachers that are, like I said, I have one that's a business teacher. I have a government teacher, economic teacher. So there's just a variety of things in your core classes. But as I mentioned earlier, special ed has become a big part of the school system where, now we have to have what's called support teachers in classrooms to help, because we mainstream so many of our special ed kids. And our support teachers go into these classrooms and they assist with the mainstream teacher in that classroom by pulling out kids individually to, read tests to them or just give them more one-on-one, help when they need it. And that's become something that's been really vital in the school system that I've seen change over the last 10 years. So I have several coaches that are actually special ed certified. So that's an area that's certainly have caught on.
The next question, you almost highlighted it, not quite, but who was your biggest mentor during your professional career, and how has their encouragement and supporting rapport helped you along the way?
Well, as a young coach, my second year into coaching, I was blessed, and I joined the staff at Aldine High School in Houston, and I worked for a gentleman by the name of Bill Smith. Bill Smith is a Texas High School Hall of Fame coach. He's retired. He retired as the 7th all-time winningest coach in Texas. And Bill he's a legend that people who know him. And I was blessed and was able to work 9 years for Coach Smith and just learn so much from his staff. I mean, he was just a phenomenal. First of all, we won state and national championship underneath him. He was a phenomenal coach, but he was also a phenomenal person. And we've been interviewing assistant athletic trainers here the last week or so. My head trainer and I, and it doesn't matter which position that we're looking for. I say the same thing to every person that comes in and I interview with, and that is, we're looking to hire great people at Calhoun ISD, and we want you to do your job. We're not going to micromanage you. We're not going to look over your shoulder. And those were things that I learned from Coach Smith at Aldine High School. He hired great people. He let those people go out and shine and do their job, and didn't make them nervous. He wasn't there to look over their shoulder. He was there to help if we needed help. And that's the kind of mentor that I try to be to our coaches. They know my door is always open, and they're welcome to come in at any time and sit down with me with anything that's going on, good or bad. But I'm certainly hiring them to do a job, and I'm not going to sit there and pick at what they're doing. I want them to be professional about it and know that they have our support as they move forward.
Okay. What soft skills are needed for your role, and especially when dealing with parents, students, and opposing teams on the field?
I misunderstood the first part of that. Say it again. Sorry.
The soft skills, people skills, or
People skills. Okay. It's about professionalism, and sports can be very heated at times, and I've been a part of that. I've been a part of some heated moments with officials and things like that, but that's something that we take very serious. We go through training every year. All coaches have to go through training about how to deal with officials and parents and things like that. We have to go through training every single year about things like that. But you know, you got to stop and think. I had some advice from the superintendent that I'm currently working under, and it's called the art of the plot. And so I'm going to steal something from him. And it's basically what falls out of a cow that's heading north on the south end when the cow has to go to the bathroom. If you deal with it right now, it's going to be pretty messy. But if you let things rest for a while, sometimes it's a lot easier to deal with. So what I tell my coaches and parents, and I've had many conversations with parents after basketball games or volleyball games or things like that, where I'm a fan in the stands, or I'm the administrator on duty that want to talk to the coach. Now's not the time to talk to them. You know, let's make an appointment. Let's come see them during their conference period. And usually what happens is, you know, everybody, you know, the coaches are riled up because of the game and what's going on in the game. They've got their blood going, and parents, maybe they're upset about playing time with their child or something like that. So if you just if you'll give some time to wait and have that meeting set up later, not after the game and things like that, usually it just solves a lot of problems. So, you know, you gotta be smart about things there when you're dealing with it. You know, I've had parents yell at me or shout things at me after games. You just got to ignore it, and you got to move on. And if they want to come talk to you, let's make an appointment and be professional about it. The officials are out there to do a job, and they're all very professional too. I don't always agree with our officials, but I'm sure they don't always agree with what I have to say either. But we certainly respect those guys and gals, and they're out there doing a great job for us to maintain the level of play. And, you know, we certainly have to be professional with those folks as we are involved in those games as well.
Okay. You mentioned the superintendent's words of wisdom. Is there a mantra or quote that you like to live by?
Just treat others the way you would want to be treated. And especially that comes to kids. And I said that earlier, that's the one thing I harp hard with my coaches is just, we're in possession of the most precious precious possession of a parent, and that's their child. And just treat the children the way you'd want your children to be treated. You know, how would you want your children to be treated by a coach or somebody that has control of them? Then you treat the children that way. And I think if we always do that, it's going to be unconditional love. It's going to be, sometimes it's hard love. You know, I tell my football kids a lot of times, and my parents know that, if they're giving teachers heck up there in that school, there may be some hard loving going on, but in the end, we're going to love them, and we're just trying to get them to fly right and do the right things. But I think that's the one statement that's constant with me is just treat kids the way you would want your kids to be treated, and treat others the way you would want to be treated.
Thank you so much, Coach Whitaker. Any final words that you might have for any students watching this segment?
I strongly encourage, I see a lot of female faces here. I'm telling you, as an athletic director, we are in great shortage in this area of Texas, and a great shortage of female coaches. And it is, you know, volleyball coaches are hard to come by, soccer coaches are hard to come by, but all female coaches. You know, when you look at my female staff, I have no issue with their good coaches, but I have a male as a head softball coach right now. I have a male as a head basketball coach, and those guys are great coaches. But in a perfect world, you know, we'd love to have a lot more female coaches in those positions. And in the past we've had, but as you know, I'm 32 years into this, and I just see more and more, or less and less, female coaches. It seems like getting into athletics. I would love to see, you know, more females involved in this profession. I think it's a great profession, and there's certainly a place for them here.
We appreciate you for joining us today, Coach Whitaker, and thank you all for connecting. If you do decide you have some feedback or some questions for him, please email me and I can relay that to him. Once again, thank you all for joining us. You all stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks again, Coach Whitaker.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You take care.